Tomb Raider 1 was one of the most popular PS1 games ever made. It sold over 7.5 million copies, received great reviews across the board, and it paved the way for not only expanding the future of the Tomb Raider franchise, but it also paved the way for other adventure games, creating inspiration for many future video games and inspiring many game developers alike. A lot of Tomb Raider documentaries will go into the ins and outs of how Tomb Raider was made, its history and so on, but I wanted to know, why was it so popular? Why is a 28-year-old game still holding such a strong cult following today? What separated Tomb Raider from all the other brand new sparkling 3D games that was coming out in 1996 for the PS1 and PC? Spoiler alert, it was Lara. Seriously, it was Lara Croft. Lara was technically one of the first ever female leading roles in a video game franchise. She wasn't the first, but she was one of the first. Some people would disagree and say there was always strong female roles in video games of the past. And they would be correct. There was Blaze in Streets of Rage, there was Chun-Li in Street Fighter, Princess Peach in Mario, and these characters were always big and very popular characters in their respected game series. However, they were never the lead role in their respected game. They were always just an optional character or a side character, or the damsel in distress, waiting to be saved by the leading male character of the game. Albeit they were very popular characters in their own right, however, they were never the leading role of the video game franchise. Lara was somewhat the most notable female role, where advertisers, game publishers and game developers made sure that they let the public know she was one strong independent woman. Technically, a video game in 1982 called Wabbit on the Atari 2600 had the first female protagonist in video game history, or human female should I say, as Miss Pac-Man was released earlier of that same year. However, for ease of storytelling, let's stick with Billy Sue, as she was the first human female and often least known about character in female video game character history. Billy Sue was a character with inspiration taken from Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
You can control Billy Sue from the bottom of the screen as she hurls rotten eggs into the onslaught of many rabbits coming from the sides of the screen into the middle, and then back off the screen again. The goal was to slaughter, knock off, as many rabbits as possible. For a while this information was lost, but with research by the Video Game History Foundation, it's been uncovered. An interesting fact is that this game was created by a female Vietnamese programmer called Van May, also known by the alias Ban Tran. So you can thank Van May for being one of the first people to ever create a female in a video game. I'll post a link in the description, as the Video Game History Foundation's YouTube channel actually made an interview with Van May, and it's really interesting. You guys should go check it out. The first popular woman role in any video game you could say was Samus Aran, the heroine from Metroid. This game was massive. In 1986, the game released on the NES.
Nintendo, a quick-loading cartridge system with over 60 of the hottest titles ever.
And paved its way to become a massive franchise for Nintendo. However, there was just one thing that held Samus back from becoming the most celebrated female character of all time. No one knew she was a woman. Or should I say, rarely anyone knew. Samus wears a spacesuit throughout the whole game. If you completed the first Metroid within a certain amount of time, which was under an hour, you were surprised at the end of the game with a screenshot of Samus Aran outside her spacesuit. The thing was, it was really hard to complete the game, never mind complete it within under an hour. Also, there was hardly any advertising in the fact that Samus was a woman at the time. Again, people rarely knew, unless they completed the game within a certain amount of time to find that hidden secret. Or you could find out she was a woman if you read the comics. However, these comics were quite rare and generally not read by most of the people that played the video game, again, reinstating the mystery of her gender at the time. Most people who played Metroid just presumed the lead role in Metroid was a man in a spacesuit, as all popular video game lead roles of the time and for many years to come were big muscly men. Sorry Mario, no offense.
Mamma mia!
So that is why Lara is often celebrated as being the first lead female role in video game history. Sure, you had Billy Sue, but sadly she wasn't popular enough, and over time she became kind of forgotten about until she was rediscovered many years later, and thankfully so as well, because I mean she is a part of video game history. And then you had Samus, who, it's Metroid, it speaks for itself. It was unbelievably popular. However, her gender was a mystery. Unless you completed a very hard achievement, or unless you bought these rare comics that not a lot of people bought, it was niche. It was niche. Not everyone who played the game bought the comic. In fact, they were few and far between. But let's get back on track and let's start talking about Lara, because this is a video about Lara Croft, so I should start talking more about her. Let's go back to 1994 again, just for a second. Toby Gard was the creator of Tomb Raider 1 and Lara Croft. Initially, Toby was going to create an action-adventure game that was heavily inspired by the Indiana Jones movies. For obvious copyright reasons, he had to come up with a fresh new character. At first, he thought about making a male character, as that was just the norm for any video game developers back then. However, Toby wanted to stand out from the crowd, and so he decided to work on Lara Croft. And no, I didn't say that wrong. Lara was originally going to be called Laura, and they soon came to the realization that Laura was hard to say for Americans, so they opted for Lara instead. Toby Gard and the rest of the development team loved this idea, so they decided to push this idea to their boss and founder of their company at Core Design. Jeremy Heath Smith was the founder and studio head of Core Design. At first, Jeremy refused the notion of making the main character a woman when presented with the idea. However, this didn't stop Tony Gard from working on making the character, and within a few weeks he had designed Lara a 3D environment that was able to interact with her surroundings. When Jeremy first saw Lara in all her pixelated flesh, he knew she was going to be the lead character for this brand new video game called Tomb Raider.
Thank you. I will.
By 1996, Tomb Raider was coming close to being finished. The next step was to advertise Lara and Tomb Raider and to get them into the spotlight. The best way of doing this was to get into the best yearly gaming event that was called E3. At the time, they were competing with Nintendo's new console, the Nintendo 64. Game publisher Eidos, throughout the making of Tomb Raider, also heavily pushed back on the idea of a female lead role for the video game, but they soon realised they weren't going to win that battle due to all the pushback from the team at Core Design. Instead, they ended up heavily pushing Lara Croft, advertising her in ways that were quite unique at the time. For example, Eidos decided to hire models that dress or cosplayed, as you will, as Lara. This was a huge success, and the news started to spread like wildfire. There were several official models that played Lara for Eidos. The first notable one was Natalie Cook in 1996. She appeared in the 1996 December issue of the British magazine PC Zone as Lara, just after the first release of the game. She also appeared in the promotional trailer for Tomb Raider 1. Rona Mitra was also a notable Lara model, who joined the Eidos team in 97 to 98 and attended many gaming events and promotions. Over the years of 96 onwards, Lara started to become a household name. Everyone knew her, men wanted to play her or even marry her, and even more, which we'll get into later. As Lara was one of the first popular female protagonists in a video game, women looked up to her, even took inspiration from her. Gay men wanted to be her. Okay, well, I wanted to be Lara. Anyway, a lot of people loved Lara for many different reasons. Laura's character was a little stubborn, but in an independent, charming way. She was an adventurer, an explorer, delving into dark caves, the pyramids of Egypt, the underground railways of London, secret islands, vast deserts. She terrorized the canals of Venice, explored the Great Wall of China and all its many, many traps that are there apparently, and even delved into the chilling cold of Antarctica. How could you not think this woman was a badass? Sadly, some people did take this too far though. A, quote, certain fanbase decided to take to the internet and post certain, quote, art, if you will, on certain internet forums. And bam, before you knew it, hundreds of nude art or nude edited images of Lara started to circulate around the web. Core Design caught wind at this and kept a careful eye on it. However, they just thought it would blow over and they didn't take too much notice or take it too seriously at first. In fact, just before the release of Tomb Raider 2, they advertised the fact that there was a hidden cheat code that would make Lara do something quite dramatic, wink wink nudge nudge. This was at a time where nude pictures of Lara were becoming increasingly popular on the back streets of the internet kind of way. And again, Core Design were aware of this fact. So they purposefully hinted at this new cheat code in a way that suggested that there was going to be a cheat code nude Lara. However, turns out that the cheat code would just end up making Lara explode, as if she was hit with a grenade launcher, in a very, very dramatic way. Honestly, bravo to Core Design for doing this, I say. They manipulated a certain fan base and advertised in a truly British, comical, cheeky innuendo, how's your father, wink wink nudge nudge kind of way. However, these artists decided to take it up a notch and decided to create the first ever nude mod, I guess. Oh, FYI, if you don't know what a mod is basically a patch, if you will, an extension pack, which you can download, and usually it'll change the game a little bit. Some mods change the game dramatically, but in this case, it just made Lara nude. It actually garnered a lot of attention. At the same time, these nude images actually started to gain more popularity to a point where there was a lot of media coverage on it, and Core Design thought, enough's enough, and they stepped in and they decided to do something about it. They threatened legal action with anyone who posted on these forums the nude mod, and they decided to take down some of the biggest websites that were dedicated to this nude Lara art. In a March the 18th, 1999 BBC article, they said this: "The company is concerned that Tomb Raider fans searching for the internet for legitimate Lara Croft information could accidentally access graphic material, an association Core says it is keen to avoid." Fans were a little too obsessed with Lara at times, to say the least. A worker at Core Design admitted that they used to get letters that were basically marriage proposals for Lara. One model, Alison Carroll, has also admitted she used to get marriage proposals for playing the character Lara Croft. In June 2001, the first Tomb Raider film was released. Even though Angelina Jolie starred in a fair few films before this, it was safe to say that this film massively helped her get into Hollywood.
Angelina Jolie. Is Lara Croft.
Even though the Lara Croft Tomb Raider film itself received fairly bad reviews from critics across the board, that didn't stop it from grossing over $274.7 million worldwide, making it one of the highest grossing video game adaptations to date. The casting of the film was a real spark for conversation before the release. The model, Rona Mitra, was the biggest rumour at the time that she was going to play Lara in the film. The truth was, Catherine Zeta-Jones was at the forefront to play Lara. However, the director of the film, Simon West, consistently argued with just about everyone involved that Angelina Jolie was the perfect Lara. People were worried that because of her controversial personal life and her tattoos that she had, that this would interfere with the film's success. However, this didn't stop the director, or in fact the success of the film, apparently. The movie debuted at number 1 with $48.2 million. and was a box office success of 2001, even beating the well-loved children's classic movie at the time, Shrek.
It's very spooky in here. I ain't playing no games.
Well, at least we know where the princess is. But where's the
It beat the opening record for a film featuring a female protagonist at 42.3 million for the Scary Movie.
Scary Movie.
As well as the opening record for a video game adaptation at 31 million for Pokemon, the first movie. And again, is one of the highest grossing video game to film adaptations to date. The second movie, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Cradle of Light, released in 2003. Critics considered it to be better than its predecessor, especially in terms of its action sequences, and continue to praise Jolie's performance. However, the film did not receive the same level of box office success as the previous film, grossing 160.1 million compared to its predecessor of nearly 275 million. In 2018, the film Tomb Raider, directed by Raw Thorg, starred Alicia Vikander as Lara. The film grossed 274 million worldwide, the same as the 2001 film, although it needed an extra million at 275 million to break even. Going back before the movies were made in 1999, the decision was made to release two musical albums that supposedly had Lara as the recording artist. The singer, in fact, was Rona Mitra. However, once they were produced, it was recognised by everyone involved that they were not very good, apparently. Their words, not mine. One album was called Female Icon and consisted tracks such as Getting Naked, Sure is Pure, and Feel Myself. Yeah, Beyonce wishes. The albums were recorded in English, but they became buried and given a French-only release. Thanks to the internet though, they managed to live on. I actually managed to find the Female Icon album and I gave it a little listen through. And it's safe to say I can understand why it didn't get released. I did find it really interesting as a part of Lara Croft history though, I got to admit. I also found the music quite surprisingly different from what I originally anticipated. The album compromised many different genres into the songs. Feeling Myself, for example, seemed like a mashup of a song by Madonna, Human Nature, and Goldfrapp, the artist. Getting Naked seemed heavily inspired by the Manchester band Happy Mondays. Come Alive reminded me of the 1995 Björk era. I can't lie, I have to admit I did like the first song on the album. It's called Raiders. I thought it was the embodiment of all 90s dance music just thrown together in one song, and I freaking loved it. It also consisted of remixing in some Tomb Raider 1 soundtrack in there for good measure, and I got to admit, it's safe to say, if I was in a club and this tune came on, y'all better move out my way, because I'm going to run to that dance floor and throw some shapes, let me tell you.
Patching commences in 15 seconds.
Lara Croft has impacted many people's lives around the world, especially a small town called Derby. Derby is where Lara was created. Both the creator of Toby Gard and the co-design studio that created the first 5 games were all situated in Derby. Toby Gard, the creator of Lara Croft, was actually born there too. In October 2021, an all-day official 25th anniversary Tomb Raider event was held in Derby. It received massive attention, with all fans across the world flying over to see the event. The event held its creators, voice actors, and some models for a Q&A and talks. People loved it. People loved it that much that fans decided to continue the tradition, and now they hold an annual unofficial Tomb Raider Day every October to celebrate the yearly anniversary of Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. Lara Croft has had such an impact on the town of Derby, putting the small town on the map for something really achievable. In honour of Lara, the council there has even put up a street in its name called Lara Croft Way. Lara is an icon, a legend, a heroine to many people, whether she is locking up her butler in the video games, starring in Hollywood movies, creating albums, making men smitten, putting towns on the map. It's safe to say Lara is going to be staying around for a long while.